Welcome to the Rest Course Session 3. I have pondered and meditated on Jesus' words about rest a lot over the past decade probably, and I still find them deeply inspiring and also deeply challenging. He says this in Matthew 11:28-30. "Come to me, all you who labour and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." If you've been around church for a while, then these words are probably really well known, really familiar. And of course, there's a real danger that with familiarity, we start to just take things for granted. We treat those words even with contempt if we're not careful. And those words can just drift us by if we're not careful as like some nice thing Jesus said, but there's deep meaning in them. And there's also a danger that because we might have read them and known about them for a while, but not perhaps feel like we've experienced them, we can also become a little bit cynical about them. As though, well, Jesus said that, but we kind of, sometimes because we've not experienced what we think we should have experienced, we kind of justify why by turning down what Jesus said. But Jesus offers a proper, real sense of rest. That word in the Greek is the word power. It means to stop, to restrain, quit, desist, come to an end, cease, leave, refrain. This is about doing something different than your current life. As I shared previously, I'm learning to live life at a slower pace, to make more time to pause, and I love it. But it's taken me quite a journey to get there. But very often when we think about rest, we think about doing less. We think of cutting things out, making ourselves less busy. But kingdom people are busy people because there's a lot to do in the kingdom of God. I'm not convinced that Jesus' idea of rest was like, hey, you're going to work a 3-day week and have 4 days just chilling out, not doing very much. I mean, all you need to do is read the Gospels and you see how much Jesus packed in. But Jesus lived a life of rest. But Jesus' diary was full on. I mean, he was a busy lad. So busy that the only space he could get to be with Father was somewhere about 3 a.m. He didn't do that because he wanted to tell you this is what you've got to do. It was the only space he had. I mean, there were people around Jesus all the time. The demands on him were massive, and yet he lived a life of rest. Jesus had a full diary. He was out lots of nights a week and with people all the hours in between. He lived a full lifestyle. You might describe him as busy, as well he was, but in his busyness, he wasn't rushed or harried or hurried or stressed or frazzled or burnt out. Rest for Jesus wasn't about a day off, although for some of you that's probably a good idea. It was about a way of living. It's about a lifestyle of rest in which he was actually kept pretty busy. So we're not talking about doing less, about clearing out our diary in that sense. Kingdom rest is not making sure you have plenty of free time just for you. It's not about creating lots of me time, although we will need to balance that, whatever that means for you in your season of life. But kingdom people are busy, hard-working people. Elsewhere in the New Testament, the word Jesus uses for rest is translated refreshing. So it's not just this kind of chill out session that Jesus is offering, it's a time of refreshing that's on offer. Now the majority of us are tired and fatigued and worn out and harried and hurried, not because we're too busy, but because we're too busy with the wrong things. We give time and energy and tasks to people that we were not created to give time and energy to, which means we become very drained physically, emotionally and mentally. We also don't know how to rest properly, so even if we are busy with the right people and tasks, because our downtime doesn't actually refresh us, when we are doing the right thing, we end up jaded and perhaps not at our best. And then we have to ask why we're busy, because sometimes we get busy with things because of our own insecurities and fears. A key to resting and reviewing your busyness is working out why you are busy with the things you are busy with. You see, most people in the world are driven by fear, and yet nothing God does is driven by fear. Most people are scared of what might happen if they stop, or what people might think if tasks or jobs don't get done. So they run themselves into the ground all the time, pretending it's about something else, but really it's just about covering up their fears and worries and insecurities. How many times have you had people around and you've rushed around the house trying to get it all sorted so it looks just so? And you're really busy getting everything ready. And sure, some of it is because you want people to have a nice time, and some of it's because you don't want them to think that you don't clean your bathroom 3 times a week. Before we can actually talk about what it means to rest, there's a task to do which is about working out what we're busy with and why we're busy with it. People who are learning how to rest are people who are learning how to review their busyness. And they're brave enough to say, I'm not going to do that anymore. Let me read these words to you again. Come to me, all who labour and are heavy laden, I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. You see, it's fascinating to me that our thought about rest is about switching off. I'm going to put my feet up, watch some TV, read a book, play a game, go for a walk, do some knitting, whatever it may be. But actually, in order to access rest, Jesus uses verbs, doing words. Come, take, learn, words that all demand our effort. Which perhaps why we find it so difficult to receive and walk in Jesus' rest, because it's the very opposite of what our culture tells us is rest. Eugene Peterson in The Message translates the words this way: are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me. Work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't let anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. Did you see how many times with me appeared in those 3 verses? He talks of a real rest, but real rest is learning to be with him. It's about walking and working, more verbs, more doing words, more action, more work. Real rest is a lifestyle. It's a whole different way of being and of living. And we can learn the unforced rhythms of grace, but to do that we need to work out what it means to walk and work with him, what it means to keep company with him. Listen, the next time you are tired, worn out, fatigued, weary, empty, drained, or exhausted, or all of the above, remember that real rest starts with coming and talking to the one who knows real rest. Of course, that's much easier if you've been walking and working with him and communicating with him all through the day. Because the challenge is, how do we come to Jesus? What does that even mean? Well, for me, it means telling him how it is. It means saying sorry for the ways we've tried to find rest, and it means putting that effort in to rest properly. It means thanking him before I feel anything, because faith demands that I say thank you for what I choose to believe to be true. There are all sorts of ways to spend time with him, whether that be if you're musical, playing your guitar, piano, singing, listening to worship music, reading the word, just sitting with him. You know, one of the most powerful things you can do is just sit with Jesus and allow him to minister to you. I know for some of you that might seem way out, but I am learning the incredible power of just sitting, and I'm not praying and I'm not proclaiming and I'm not worshiping, I'm just sitting. And sometimes we don't say anything to each other, but I feel like at the end he says, thanks, son, I love that. Perhaps getting somewhere near that place is what it means to take a real rest.